A Thunder Bay tourist attraction faces an uncertain future. A correctional center homicide case will proceed to trial. And members of Thunder Bay City Council weigh in on the marijuana issue.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Well, Thunder Bay and surrounding area is preparing for the possibility of some rough weather.
Heavy rains and thunderstorms are in the forecast, and that's prompted the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority to issue a special flood outlook statement. With more on that, here's Fiona Gardner.
All right, well, let's take a look at what we're dealing with right now. Heavy rainfall warning is in effect for areas from Kenora all the way through to Wawa and that region, and we are looking at anywhere up to 60 millimeters of rain with it. Consequently, the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority's flood outlook statement is for the city of Thunder Bay, the municipalities of Nebing, Oliver, Papoon, Shunya, the townships of O'Connor, Conmee, Gillies, and Dorian. And what they are telling people is that with the rainfall, 60 millimeters is the potential amount overnight, but there is the possibility for higher localized amounts due to thunderstorms. Now, the threat of flooding exists in low-lying areas, and what they want the public to know is that they should be exercising caution and be very careful around waterways over the next few days. There is the issue that we've seen in the past with the flooding, and we will have more details on what will be developing over the next 24 hours. It's later on in the news hour.
Thanks, Fiona. Well, the future of a tourist attraction south of Thunder Bay is in question tonight. The Founders Museum in Pioneer Village on Highway 61 is facing some serious financial struggles and a lack of volunteers. The facility has been forced to close for the season early and cancel all of its fall and winter programming. Several key positions are now sitting vacant as remaining staff look for new funding. Nate Jones reports.
These days, you don't see too many gramophones around, but at the Founders Museum, it's commonplace to see such items from the past. This little town that tells a story of the district's past has fallen on hard times due to high operating costs and a lack of volunteers. Further down Highway 61, the newly opened Founders Shop will be closing its doors after the long weekend. It was, at the beginning, a way to raise money by selling local items and products.
It was an effort that some people put together and gave it a shot. It was working well for us, but the downside was we didn't have enough volunteers to make that shop operate enough.
The hall that is used for special events will also be closing its doors at the end of September. The high cost of heating in the colder months makes it unprofitable to run. Lafredo estimates it currently costs about $3,000 a month to run the facility. The popular Halloween town will not be operating here due to a lack of volunteers and leadership. Part of the problem lies with vacant volunteer positions.
We need a new executive completely, and directors and managers. It takes a lot to run this place. We have a lot of volunteers, it's just that we have a lot of vacancies in key positions.
MPP Bill Morrow is a Founders Museum member, and he is lending his governmental expertise to source out funding opportunities.
Began then scouring around to see what's possible, found a program that is ending in about 10 days, but have given them that link. They're going to apply, hopefully, and if they do, we'll see if they're successful, and it might provide them a bit of a bridge to get them through some of these difficult times.
The museum hopes to have more people join its membership, and Lafredo believes if people in the community step up, there will be a spring for this historical landmark. Nate Jones, TBT News.
A young man charged last year with first-degree murder has been committed to stand trial in the case. 21-year-old Adam Capay attended his preliminary hearing this week at the Ontario Court of Justice. The hearing saw around 8 witnesses testify and wrapped up yesterday. Capay is charged in connection with the murder of 35-year-old Sherman Quissis during an altercation at the Thunder Bay Correctional Centre in June of last year. Quistis died after a sharp object punctured an artery in his neck. All evidence at the preliminary hearing is subject to a publication ban. The judge presiding over the hearing has ruled that there is enough evidence for the case to proceed. There's no estimate on when Capay's murder trial might be held. A pre-trial conference is scheduled for September 30th.
An open house is underway at this hour at the Matawa First Nation office on Court Street. It's to gather public input on a proposed land use plan, struck in principle by the remote communities of Fort Hope, Mishkegogaming, and the province. The proposed plan is meant to serve as a foundation for future development in the areas surrounding the two northern reserves. The green areas on the map would be designated as conservation zones, while other yellow areas would be left open for development. It's an important first step toward improving relations between the province and First Nations, according to Fort Hope Planning Team member Andy Yesno, and gives First Nations people a measure of control over development on their land.
There are areas that are pretty sensitive in the whole planning area, and I think we'll be able to have a chance to set those aside and protect them from exploitation kind of thing. That's something that the older people, the elders have asked for.
It can be a catalyst for communities to look at what are the follow-up activities. Is it an economic development desire in certain areas? Is it a dedicated protected planning area? So it can really be a catalyst to build some excitement in the community and be a foundation for organizing the next round of whether they be economic development or protection-oriented activities.
The proposed plan is far from set in stone. The sides will next develop a draft plan, which will be followed by more public and private sector engagement. Only then can a final land use plan be implemented. This evening's open house continues until 7 o'clock.
The Ministry of the Environment is weighing in on our story yesterday about the cleanup of Superior Fine papers. The ministry says some of the dates for the cleanup mentioned in the story have changed. Timelines from the May agreement the item was based on have now been extended. MOE spokesperson Lisa Brigadier says the removal of chemicals at the mill will need to happen by the end of the year. That work is currently underway and was originally slated to wrap up next month. The sewage works and waste site cleanup have now been extended into sometime in 2014. The MOE originally wanted that work done by the end of the year. The total cleanup cost is pegged at $2.6 million. In lieu of money owed, the new owners, who have retained the name Superior Fine Papers, have posted $2.3 million with the province. They've also agreed to do the equivalent amount of environmental work at the property.
The premiers of Ontario and Nova Scotia admit they've smoked pot. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford says he's smoked a lot of it. There's been many marijuana confessions since federal Liberal leader Justin Trudeau admitted he's smoked weed since being elected an MP. The pot talk came about after a Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police proposal that marijuana possession be made a simple ticketing offence. Thunder Bay Mayor Keith Hobbs first weighed in on the issue a few years ago. Hobbs believes marijuana should be legalized, with the government producing, selling, and taxing it. He feels the proceeds could then go toward curing social ills. Councillor Larry Hebert says he's never smoked pot before, but feels it should be decriminalized. Councillor Ken Boshkoff, meanwhile, admits he smoked marijuana decades ago. He also feels limited amounts should be decriminalized. Councillor Rebecca Johnson says she's never smoked weed before either, but feels it should be legalized. She believes doing so would reduce policing costs and ensure the safety of the user.
The other thing it would reduce, I think if you look at alcohol and the prohibition of alcohol and what was going on at that point in time, and the taxes that can be raised from the use of marijuana. So to me, I think that we would all win by that. The citizens that are using it, the taxpayers that would benefit by the use of taxes, etc. So I think that there's some real benefits of it by it.
Johnson says marijuana use is a reality and needs to be discussed. She feels it will one day be legalized in Canada. TBT News reached out to all 13 councillors for this story. 8 of them did not respond to our request for comment on the issue.
A government program is being credited with the startup of 11 new businesses by young people in our city. The Summer Company Grant Program helps students between 15 and 29 try their hand at being entrepreneurs. The students wrapped up the summer program with presentations at the Community Economic Development Commission office today. Each applicant was given $1,500 to develop a business plan and launch their own idea. The goal of the program is to give young people the initiative to one day become full-time entrepreneurs. Development Officer Stacia Keene says there was a wide variety of new businesses formed.
Graphic design to lawn care to jewelry to making picnic tables, techno problems, helping people with learn how to use their computers. So a real diversity of businesses, and the students throughout the whole summer learned a lot.
I never thought that I would have my own business, so Summer Company made it all possible by teaching me about what a business plan is, what a cash flow is. And so from that, I was able to start up Redeeming Dance School, and it was such an awesome experience.
Keene says many of the new businesses will continue on through the school year. The students will receive another $1,500 grant to return to school.
Users of the recreation trail at the Bluffs should be aware that a portion of the trail has been closed. The bottom of the Bluffs Trail from Bluffs Entrance Drive to the Hydro 1 corridor will be closed until Monday. That section of the trail was resurfaced earlier this week and needs time to harden. The public can still access the trails running from the top of the Bluffs to the Hydro 1 corridor. A second phase of resurfacing is scheduled for sometime in September on the section of the trail that runs from the corridor to the Lookout and Centennial Park Chalet.
With the Labor Day weekend approaching, the Canadian Border Services Agency is reminding travelers to plan ahead to avoid a long wait at the border. The CBSA says wait times could be 30 minutes or longer on Sunday night and Monday throughout the day. Higher than normal traffic is also expected on Friday night and Saturday morning. In order to avoid the wait, the agency advises crossing the border outside of those peak times. Travelers can also speed up the process by having proper identification and receipts ready for inspection.
A one-hour documentary set to debut on Thunder Bay Television this Saturday shines the spotlight on the Silver Islet region. The video explores some major geological wonders and took several years to complete. As Courtney Rutherford reports, it could be of interest to anyone who lives near Lake Superior.
Ever since Tom Perrett came to the Thunder Bay area as a photographer and diver, he was fascinated with the landscape and rock forms. But never understanding the area that surrounded him, the feeling prompted him to contact his friend Scott Cheadle, a geophysicist. The conversation led to them joining forces to create a documentary detailing all the Silver Islet area has to offer.
We stopped at some very interesting places, and Scott actually was able to put this not just into a context of explaining what was there, but also its context in Earth history, which we felt was very, very important. And the project kind of blossomed from there, and we've been shooting the past 3 summers fairly regularly.
Well, this is a great vantage point to see all the main elements of the geology that form the beautiful shoreline of Lake Superior here in the area of Silver Islet.
In Perrett's 50-minute piece, one of the things he concentrated on were unique structures that look like volcanoes that are made up of sand and water. He said he came across various things that were fascinating, and without his partner's expertise, he couldn't have created this video. Putting together the documentary was a great experience, and Perrett adds that coming up with the title was one of the easiest jobs.
It really is a perfect title because it, of course, is all along the shoreline, and it also deals with the Earth history, the timeline of Earth history, so that it was a perfect amalgam of titles there.
And that hole, miraculously, has been preserved for about 1.5 billion years for us to marvel in today.
The documentary is scheduled to air on Saturday at 5 p.m. on Global Thunder Bay and will become available online in the coming months. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
With the penny on the way out, the 1-cent coins are likely to become harder and harder to find. But at one local art gallery, you can venture across a lot of them. This may look like an ordinary, albeit interesting floor, but if you look closer, you'll see it's made up entirely of pennies, roughly 275,000 of them. But you'll have to count them yourself if you'd like the exact total. Many of the pennies were donated by members of the public, while others were purchased from the United Way. Gallery owner Hannah Johnson says she's happy to finally show off the completed floor to the public and that the work that went into creating it is finally finished.
We actually started August long weekend, and originally I was pretty naive and thought it could get done in a weekend, and it's taken countless hours, like minimum 10-12 hours a day every day since then, and I'm so grateful because I've had like 25 or 30 different volunteers, and there is no way I could have even come close to this finished without them.
Johnson says the floor is now like an art piece in itself, one that's garnered a lot of attention for the gallery.
Good for her. A lot of work went into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, my Flora Toonies idea is not really getting off the ground.
Nobody's donating toonies to you?
Not at all. I don't understand why.
That's a crime.
Anyway, turning to weather now, Fiona, it's time to batten down the hatches. We're in a rainfall warning.
Yeah, there's a lot of rain on the way, and basically it's all coming from the south for the most part. Northern Minnesota has been pushing in some showers and even some thunderstorms in the last few hours, and they've moved into northwestern Ontario already. Thunder Bay's seen some light rain in the last few hours, and there's a potential for a whole lot more if we continue to get hit head on with this precipitation. Now, today we did top out with a high of 26, and the humidex made it feel like 34, but the temperature and the humidex has been dropping quickly over the last few hours, and at this time, well, we're at 20 Celsius. We've got 17 in Dryden, a fair amount of cloud cover. Fort Frances had some rain just a couple of hours ago. Right now, they've got mainly cloudy skies, getting a little bit of a break from the precipitation. And as we head further eastward, well, there's definite sunshine and a lot of heat in Sault Ste. Marie. They're going to get hit with the rain probably tomorrow. But tonight, Thunder Bay's looking at a low of 17 Celsius, so it's going to be a bit on the muggy side. And as we said, up to 60 millimeters of precipitation is possible, as well as thunderstorms in the region, and that's with winds from the south-southeast, relatively light. Now, tomorrow, with all that's happening this afternoon and overnight tonight, you'd think tomorrow would be a little bit more interesting, but really not a whole lot going on in the region. Things are going to move out relatively quickly, so Friday's going to be a calm start to the long weekend. Unfortunately, it's just the start because we have more precipitation, more potential for rain, and cooling of temperatures as the air moves down from the north and sees more seasonal values as we head into the long weekend, but I'll have more details on what types of temperatures we're actually going to be seeing and how often you're going to have to take out that umbrella over the weekend. It's later on in the news hour.
Thanks a lot, Fiona. Well, discussions regarding the ongoing situation in Syria were on the agenda today at the White House. We'll have that story and more coming up for you after the break.
Unite as much of the country and of much of this House as possible.
The Obama administration is talking with congressional leaders today about the situation in Syria.
And that comes as the White House says it's looking at a discreet and limited response to the regime over its alleged use of chemical weapons. Briar Stewart has the latest.
Wearing gas masks, a UN team takes samples in a Damascus suburb as they continue to look into whether chemical weapons were used in an attack here last week. There's a growing debate about just how to respond.
I want to unite as much of the country and of much of this House as possible.
The British government published a letter from its own intelligence officials that said it's highly likely the Syrian government was responsible for last week's attack. And then Prime Minister David Cameron tried to convince a weary public and a cautious parliament that Syria isn't like that other conflict.
The well of public opinion was well and truly poisoned by the Iraq episode. This is about chemical weapons. This is not about intervention. This is not about getting involved in another Middle Eastern war.
Britain has moved 6 of its jets to Cyprus to protect its air base there, but Parliament won't vote on any action until after the UN team finishes its report. Canada has already said that it's not getting involved militarily, but
we do support our allies who are contemplating forceful action.
And the United States has been spearheading that discussion.
There need to be international consequences.
But now the president finds himself under increasing pressure from a Congress that feels it's being kept in the dark and wants specifics.
I do think we'd be so much better off if the administration would come to Congress, call everybody back, and let Congress authorize this activity.
Key congressional officials will be briefed today on the phone about U.S. intelligence on Syria. President Obama insists he hasn't made a decision yet about whether to launch a military strike, but he'll certainly face a lot more questions before he does. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Washington.
Stephen Harper and Justin Trudeau faced more questions from reporters today about the country's marijuana laws. Last week, the Liberal leader said he had smoked pot on a few occasions, the last time about 3 years ago, and he called for the legalization of marijuana use. That was met with criticism from the Prime Minister. Today, the two men again outlined their reasoning on the issue.
The current approach that Mr. Harper has on the war on drugs is not working, where we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year on a plan that is not keeping marijuana out of the hands of our teens.
Mr. Trudeau's actions display poor judgment. And I think the priority, and I look at the contrast with him promoting marijuana use for our children versus saying yesterday he will have no economic policy for several years.
Harper repeated today that he has asthma and has never smoked marijuana.
The Liberal Party has wrapped up its summer caucus on Prince Edward Island. Party leader Justin Trudeau says the Liberals want to focus on the challenges facing the country's middle class, and they'll spend the coming months holding meetings to listen to Canadians' concerns. Laurie Graham has the story.
Justin Trudeau emerged from 3 days of caucus meetings optimistic about his Liberals, despite their third-party status.
Look forward to continuing to bring forward options and a party and an alternative to this government that is open, transparent, and responsible.
Trudeau attracted a large and enthusiastic crowd last night at a Liberal rally. Supporters got up close to the leader, while workers gathered their emails and phone numbers, information that will come in handy for future fundraising.
We have a leader in Justin Trudeau that has captured the imagination of Canadians in a way we haven't seen for a generation. And that means that we have at least an opportunity to be relevant again.
Part of Trudeau's appeal, it seems, is his open style of leadership and his honesty, including when he admitted to smoking pot.
Have you, sir, ever tried marijuana?
Yes. My answer to that is, do I seem like I smoke marijuana?
Today, the Prime Minister was critical of Trudeau's position to legalize marijuana.
Our priority as a government is not encouraging the spread of drugs, it is encouraging job creation in this country.
Harper also criticized Trudeau for not outlining an economic policy. Trudeau says he won't release a policy platform until 2015, not until he's consulted with Canadians.
The biggest challenge is convincing Canadians that politics can be a positive force in their lives.
Trudeau says the party will hold roundtables, town halls, and information sessions over the next 2 years. He says Liberals will use that information to help shape the party's platform before the next election. Lori Graham, CBC News, Brudenell.
Victory for airline passengers today. The Canadian Transportation Agency ruled that Air Canada must pay passengers when they're involuntarily bumped from flights. The sum will range from $200 to $800. The agency also ordered Porter Airlines to refund fares for canceled flights and to provide passengers with more accurate information about schedule changes.
Twerk, jorts, dad dancing, and Greek chic. These are just some of the new words and phrases that found their way into the Oxford Online Dictionary this week. The online dictionary shows that the internet is having a profound effect on the English language, and especially the way young people communicate with each other. Sandra Abma has more.
I'm taking my online dictionary to the streets to find out if people are up on the latest lexicon.
Let's start with an easy one. Selfie.
I don't.
I don't know, maybe something to do with the cell phone?
But it's no problem to get some expert demonstrations on how selfies are made in the Byward market, as it's become a regular practice for many young people and celebrities to take digital photos of themselves and post them online. What about baby moon?
A baby moon. Is that when a diaper is half off?
Not exactly. A baby moon is a romantic vacation couples take before they have their baby.
Digital detox.
I believe that's when you kind of stop using any sort of technology for any length of time.
If you look up the word twerk in the dictionary, you might find a picture of her. After Sunday's grinding dance performance at the VMAs, the former Hannah Montana has become synonymous with the verb.
What is twerking?
Miley Cyrus.
Do you twerk at all yourself?
Absolutely not. Never have and never will.
What's twerking?
What do you think, Griffin? Ella, you ever heard that one?
That's good, actually.
Dad dancing says it all. No rhythm, awkward, old school. Have you been feeling a little FOMO of late? You're not alone.
We have a lot of FOMO. Fear of missing out. Just for example, I was out of town for the weekend, and they all got together, and I had like a FOMO, so it's a fear of missing out of like, what are you guys doing?
So as you go forward in this brave new world, don't feel too FOMO, or it may turn into omni-shambles. You can look that up in the online dictionary. Sandra Abma, CBC News, Ottawa.
Start breaking out some of those words on the NewsHour.
Yeah, I'm confused.
I'm so old.
Let's take a look at today's market activity. Toronto saw the TSX jump 97 points to 12,704. The Dow was up 16 points to 14,840. And the Nasdaq was up almost 27 points to 36.20. The Canadian dollar fell 0.4 cents to 94.96 cents US. Gold was down almost $6 to $1,412 an ounce. And oil was down $1.30 to $108.80 a barrel.
LU basketball season's still a couple months away, but the men's team has added some new recruits. Really makes you wonder, Randy, about expectations this year. They lost a lot of players after last season. Really up in the air as to how they could do this season.
Yeah, I think, if they make the playoffs, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Probably be a success.
Yeah, they've got 4 returnees and 13 new players, but some of those new players, watch out. The Lake A University men's basketball team has added 3 transfers, including 7-1 center Andrew McCarthy from Massachusetts, 6'7 forward Serdan Petricic, who played 2 years at Waterloo, and another 6'7 forward Justin Bell, who has 1 year of eligibility left after playing with Ottawa and York. Now, the Wolves will be without forward Ryan Thompson for the year because of knee surgery, and guard Joe Hart is leaving to play pro ball in Spain. Here's Wolves head coach Scott Morrison.
On the one hand, right now, we're not suffering from his loss too bad because he's pretty active in practice. He's doing a great job working with the new guys, trying to help them along. Guys that are injured, he's taking them aside and showing them what they're missing on the court. And for sure, off the court, he's taking a great leadership and helping guys get their paperwork done, classes registered for, and so forth. So he's been a great addition to the coaching staff on the one hand, but definitely when October 3rd rolls around and the ball goes up, and things get dicey, we're really going to miss him, and we're not going to be able to throw him in. But on the bright side, we have him for an extra year to work with these young guys, and then the plan is for him to be back to all-star status this time next year. Well, for one thing, it means we're going to have to learn how to coach guys that big and use them in a system, because our system's kind of been built around having small guys that are quick. Now, these big guys can run the floor not too bad, so it shouldn't hurt us too much in that regard, but just learning to use their size, whereas before we were utilizing quickness. It's fun, to be honest, working with these guys. It's like a nice, perfect block of ice that you have to sculpt, I guess. And like I said, we got kind of a year where we're going to do everything we can to win this year, but I think the expectations are a little bit lower, and the emphasis has to be on developing players and getting experience, and then hopefully we can get back to competing for the top spot as soon as possible, maybe even by the end of the year.
Well, it's been a relatively routine off-season for Carolina Hurricanes center Jordan Staal. No blockbuster wedding day trades to speak of, no lockouts hanging like a black cloud over the upcoming season. The only notable difference between this summer and any other for the Thunder Bay native is that he was one of 47 players invited to Canada's Olympic orientation camp, which took place in Calgary earlier this week. And while Staal is hopeful he'll be picked to help Canada defend Olympic gold in Sochi, he's now focusing his attention squarely on the Carolina Hurricanes and getting back to the NHL playoffs. Here's Ryan Benazzo.
Miles loses it, loose in front of the net, they score! Staal!
The Olympic orientation camp is over. Now all Jordan Staal can do is his job as a strong two-way forward for the Carolina Hurricanes, and hope it's enough to impress Steve Yzerman and the rest of the Team Canada brass.
I'm going to have a big start and hopefully have a good season, and just to be just to have rumblings and the opportunity of maybe making it is exciting, and hopefully I can have a great season and hopefully make that team.
It will certainly help his cause if he can help turn a Carolina club that's missed the postseason 4 years running back into a contender in the newly formed Metropolitan Division. A tough task, playing against perennial playoff teams like Pittsburgh, Washington, and the Rangers, among others. But Staal likes the Hurricanes' chances all the same.
We're still feeling really confident with the group we have, and we're still a young team, and we have a lot of good pieces in place.
Now, keeping those pieces healthy will be key.
Campbell shoots, Ward came over to make the save.
That's something that didn't happen last season, and Staal watched the playoffs from home.
We lost Wardo, was a big fall for us, and things kind of just kept escalating and got worse, and we couldn't buy a win towards the end there, and the next thing you know, you're out of the picture.
The second-year Hurricane is looking forward to his first full training camp with Carolina, something he didn't have last season due to the lockout. That was tough, he admits, but Staal stopped short of saying the truncated camp contributed to the team's disappointing record.
Most teams were in the same boat last year, whether it was different for us because we had a lot of new faces and a lot of young guys that, training camp would have been nice, but I think that will help this year, and hopefully we can play a lot better next year.
Ryan Benazzo, TBT Sports.
It's day 4 of the U.S. Open Tennis Tournament in New York. 4 Canadians play their second-round matches today. Quebec's Eugenie Bouchard was sent packing this morning, losing in 3 to 8th seed Angelique Kerber. 10th-ranked Milos Raonic plays Spain's Pablo Andujar tonight. Frank Danzovich of Niagara Falls is finally on the court against Tommy Robredo, while Alexandra Wozniak faces second seed Victoria Azarenka. Recapping day 3 at the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. The rain played havoc with the schedule, washing out top seed Serena Williams' match. Her sister Venus, though, did get her second rounder in, and it was well worth the wait in the longest match since 1970. The American fell in 3 sets to China's Zheng Ji. It took over 3 hours to complete that one. Over on the men's side, defending champion number 3 seed Andy Murray breezed by Michael Lodra in straight sets, thanks to some pretty nice shot making. Ryan can do that in his sleep. He had his opponent so frustrated that he ended up throwing his racket. That's what Ryan does after Montreal loses. And disappointment for American James Blake. He lost in 5 to Ivo Karlovic, who is, Blake, by the way, is retiring, leaving the sport with 10 championships to his name. Senior men's baseball last night, the Boston Pizza Red Sox outslugged the Coastal Steel Orioles 12-7. Craig Steele drove in 4 runs for the winners. The Blue Jays have the night off. They're getting ready to host Kansas City for 3 beginning tomorrow night. Last night, the Jays jump on Yankees pitcher Hiroki Kuroda in the first. Brett Lawrie starts the scoring, lines a double to left. It's his 14th two-bagger of the year as Ryan Goins and Adam Lynn cross the plate. Still in the first, JP Irancibia strikes out, but he's ruled safe at first on Chris Stewart's throwing error. The pass ball would allow Lawrie and Rajay Davis to count. Blue Jays off and running at 4-zip. They had a couple more in the second. Edwin Encarnacion goes yard off Kuroda to left. The 2-run Tater is his 34th home run of the year. That made it 6-0. Next inning, Jose Reyes picks up an RBI with a sacrifice fly to center. Even the slow-footed JP Irancibia could score on that one. It was 7-0 for the good guys. Todd Redmond will lose his shutout bid in the 4th. Alex Rodriguez singles to left. That will cash Curtis Granderson. But the Blue Jays, for the first time this year, take the series from the Yankees, taking it 2-1. 7-2 would be the final. The NFL has agreed to a multi-million-dollar settlement with more than 4,500 former players, including Tony Dorsett. The $765 million settlement will fund medical exams, concussion-related compensation, and medical research. The agreement will be submitted for approval in federal court. And first it was the front office, now it's the players, as the struggling Winnipeg Blue Bombers, losers of 6 in a row, will have a number of new faces in their lineup Sunday afternoon in Regina when they face the Rough Riders.
I've only been home for 2 weeks training and then back up here, so I didn't really miss a beat.
With the Arena League season just completed, the Bombers' newest QB, Jason Boltus, feels like he can step in right away.
I'm in football shape. I mean, conditioning-wise, you can always be in better conditioning shape, but football shape, I'm there. I've been practicing, for months and months with a team at professional levels.
Don't expect former Jacksonville Jaguars star Mike Sims-Walker to step in right away. It'll probably take a good week to pick up the offense while learning the CFL game. The new player most likely to see the field this week is probably receiver Aaron Kelly, thanks to his familiarity with offensive coordinator Marcel Belfait.
I think that he was comfortable with me as a player, and I'm definitely comfortable with him as a coach, and just glad to have this opportunity to play again.
He's been in the CFL for 2 years and played a number of games, and he's been in Marcel's offense. So him coming along is going to be pretty fast. I think for Mike it's going to be a little bit longer, but just watching him in practice today, I mean, you could tell he's a professional.
The other new body is kicker and punter Brody McKnight. The Bombers are his 5th CFL team in the span of just 2 years, and while some have told him to give it up, he's taking the glass half full approach.
It's just a great experience. A lot of people are saying, McKnight, it's a bad thing that you're on your 5th team. I look at it from a positive perspective. I've had an opportunity to meet a ton of great people in this league.
Russ Hobson, Global Sports.
And folks, that'll do it for sports.
All right, thanks, Randy. Well, if you need an excuse to stay inside and watch TV tonight, just look out the window. With more, here's a complete lineup on Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay, we've got big names, dramatic scenes, and a question of loyalty. Starting at 8 on Glee, the kids tackle Stevie Wonder's hits and Rachel prepares for her audition. Then at 9 p.m. on Big Brother, it's time to say goodbye to someone with the live eviction. And at 10 on Rookie Blue, a pedophile who Marlowe had been investigating is found severely beaten. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay, we investigate nature and the foods we obsess about. First at 8, The Nature of Things has part 2 of a journey through the exotic world of fruit. Then at 9, The New Green Giants exposes the controversial world of the organic food industry. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, at least, Fiona, that it was a nice start to the day.
Yeah, at least we can just definitely say that, and that's because we hit a high of 26 and the humidex hit 34. So if you like heat, you like sunshine, it certainly started out that way, but the clouds have moved in and we've had rain and now we're dealing with a whole lot of mist. But let's take a look at what's going on further west. Vancouver, pardon me, is under a rainfall warning at this time for tonight. And as we head into southeastern BC from basically West Kootenay all the way through to, well, we'll say to Lethbridge, Alberta, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. A whole lot of heat for Calgary. They're currently at 30 Celsius under mainly sunny skies. The heat continues into southern Saskatchewan, Saskatoon at 29, 32 in Regina, but they're seeing a lot more humidity in Saskatoon than they are in Calgary. So it's definitely feeling quite muggy at this hour. Winnipeg currently 26. Humidex makes it feel like 32. And a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Dauphin and a little bit further south to Porcupine Provincial Park. Now, speaking of humidity, definitely going to be the case in southern Ontario, Toronto and Ottawa, both hot and humid today. Quebec City currently 17. It's a little bit gusty earlier. It seems to be calming down, but it's much drier and much cooler at 17. And heading into the Maritimes, well, it's looking very gray across the board. Fredericton and Charlottetown, cloudy and cool at 16, 15 in Halifax. Continuing strong northerly winds, and they're expecting a thunderstorm for tonight. Meanwhile, St. John's at a mere 11 Celsius is gusty, gray, and also going to get pretty wet tonight. Now, the system's moved in from the southwest for the most part tonight. We've got that heavy rainfall potential moving through, and then tomorrow we get towards the end of it, and everything's actually quite calm. Pardon me, calm and clear behind it. Unfortunately, we're looking for round 2 for Saturday. Now, rainfall warnings in effect from Kenora all the way through to Wawa, saying up to a potential of 60 millimeters of rain. Hopefully we don't get hit that hard, but there is the possibility of it. Overnight tonight, temperatures mid or high teens pretty much across the board, including Sault Ste. Marie, possible thunderstorms tomorrow. It will move out relatively quickly. We've still got some rain to the east, but mainly cloudy skies for Red Lake and partly cloudy in Fort Frances, with the temperatures quite mild and a little bit on the humid side once again. At this hour, we're at 20 Celsius. We've had light rain. It started to taper off on the southern side of the city, and now we're looking at more mist than anything. 17 is expected to be the temperature overnight, with up to 60 millimeters possible and potential for thunderstorm activity. As we take a look at what's going to happen for Friday, we've got a mix of sun and cloud and a high of 23. Looks like things will calm down quite nicely. Saturday, the umbrellas may have to come out again with a high of 21. Matching that on Sunday with a possible passing shower in the morning. Then Labor Day Monday, 19 Celsius, and back to school, back to work, 21 under partly cloudy skies.
In health news, the inability to get pregnant can be a heartbreaking reality for a couple who've seen all the doctors and received all the treatment. So does it come to a point where you almost have to stop trying, almost for your own sanity? Carrie Marsden shares one couple's journey to have a family.
Sure, come. It's a picture-perfect life for Carly and David. Happily married, a beautiful home in a great neighborhood, and their trusty companion, Sherman. The only thing missing is a child.
There's something that you can feel internally, whether it's an emotion. Yeah, I can't imagine not doing midnight feedings and lining up for swimming lessons.
For 4 years, they have been trying, but no success, so they turned to fertility treatments. And about $50,000 later, still no baby.
A total of 12 treatments, 3 IVFs, 6 IUIs using donor sperm, and then by the end we had been lucky enough to receive 6 donor embryos.
They knew it would be difficult from the beginning. David suffered cancer when he was 11. Chemo and radiation impacted his fertility, but why Carly couldn't conceive was unexplained.
Everyone was, "You're a superstar, you're so young, you look great on paper, all your test results are perfect."
Experts say 1 in 7 couples will struggle to get pregnant. Dr. Tom Hannum says 90% of the time screening tests will point to what's wrong, but there are cases that are unexplained.
It's actually quite rare now for us to have something that's truly unexplained, but when it is, it's one of the more stressful diagnoses for people.
David and Carly admit the unknown has been difficult.
I mean, every time you do the blood test and the pregnancy test, it was always devastating. It's never good news when you get the phone call that unfortunately no, you're not pregnant and it didn't work.
But you won't see them feeling sorry for themselves, because this is a journey that has made them stronger and made it more clear that they still want a child.
It just says that we're really committed and we're a strong couple and we have a great foundation and we still want to have a family, so let's try to figure out a way to make that happen.
Well, if you've gotten a chance to head down to City Hall at all this month on Thursdays over the noon hour, you know the fun of City Hall Sounds that's been running this month. Well, the final City Hall Sounds of the season took place today. We'll tell you all about it when we return. Live music, food trucks, and great company have all combined to make one of the city's newest events a big success. The final City Hall Sounds took place at lunchtime today at McGilvery Square. Both food trucks had lines down the sidewalk and people were treated to music from Damon Doback. The pilot project is an initiative of the Crime Prevention Council and is taking place every Thursday this month. Coordinator Amy Siciliano says they've had nothing but positive feedback.
Life that it brings to the square. They love the opportunity that they have to connect with people, to learn what's happening from your colleague, from your coworker, from somebody that's down the street. So it's been lovely. I can't say enough about it.
I think it's a good way to get the community together, and it also brings people like that are on the buses and City Hall people outside to enjoy like this nice space.
Siciliano anticipates building on the success of the project next year. She adds they're going to look at doing something similar for a longer term and at other locations across the city. Looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does.
I wish I had gotten a chance to go down there today.
Well, maybe next year.
Next year, yep.
Yeah.
Well, there's always next year.
Well, we're recapping our top story. Obviously, the city is bracing for what could be a pretty severe storm.
Yes, we have a severe thunderstorm or severe rainfall warning in effect for Thunder Bay and areas west to Kenora and eastward to Wawa. We could be seeing up to 60 millimeters of precipitation tonight, which means there is a threat of flooding in low-lying areas, and the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority is asking you to exercise caution around waterways over the next few days.
We're all hoping for the best.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, that'll do it for your early look at news, weather, and sports. We'll see you again next time.